Hello everyone, welcome back to Forge. Today we are going to be starting part 1 in a 3-part video series on forging a hand-forged frying skillet. This is the method that I have developed to forge my skillets, and I hope it will be of value to you guys out there. Step 1 today, we will be going over just forging the handle. Step 2, we will be going over forging the skillet body itself. And then step 3, we're going to do final fit and finish work with the skillet, aka assembling the handle and seasoning the pan and the tips and hints that way. Hope you guys stay tuned for all 3 videos. If you're watching in the future, they'll all be linked up at the end of the videos here. And I hope this will be a good resource. The handle we're going to be working on today is a styling of my own, and you know, it's not limited to this style. Obviously, there's thousands of styles of handles that you can do. Glasses are falling up here on me, sorry. There's literally thousands of different handle styles you can do. I encourage you to be creative and come up with your own. As far as forging the actual skillet body itself, they are pretty much the same. I mean, indefinitely the same. You're essentially making a circle into a pan. There's not a whole lot of elaboration that you can do there. But the handle itself is somewhere that you can really express yourself in your own creative abilities. So I hope you get a lot out of this video, and I thank you for watching today. Alright, we're here at my handy dandy welding table again. Workbench, layout table, whatever you want to call it. You guys are getting used to seeing this bench in my videos. It's a mainstay. Don't know what I did before without it. Anyways, the first step in this process, I make all my handles, or most of my handles I should say, out of 1/4 inch by 1 inch flat stock. My friends in the UK, maybe it is, I believe 6 mil by 25 mil. Would be the closest thing to it if you live anywhere else in the world and you're not using imperial. So the handle length that I start with is usually with 7 to 8 inches long. I am not a guy who uses metric a lot, so I couldn't tell you what that is in metric, but I'll let people do their own math that way. It's usually between 7 and 8 inches long. And the first step in the process of making your skillet is you need a transition. You may not need a transition in particular. For some folks, they may just want to slap this to the bottom of the pan itself. But I like a transition a little better. So we're going to forge a fishtail on the end of it. This gives us a nice break line, as you can see here, to meet up with the edge of the pan. So it's a bit of an offset, if you will. Let's see here. It's pretty good in focus. Excuse me. So I like to have that little offset. It helps transition the handle into the skillet pan itself. There's multiple options that you can do as far as the final fit up to the pan. I've seen guys weld them. I think Chandler Dickinson, I think is his name, last name. I've seen him, you know, just weld them onto the pan. That's fine if you like to do some welding work and things of that nature. Then, you know, there's riveting it onto the pan. There's brazing. There's several different attachment options, just depending on whatever you guys are comfortable with. Dennis of DF in the shop, he does a whole pan series videos where he's forging some frying skillets and things. And he kind of has developed his own method. So has Chandler Dickinson there. I believe this method is a little easier that I'm going to show you all as far as making skillets. But it's not the only one out there. So, you know, just do what works for you guys. So, anyways, So that's what we're going to start with. This is going to be the first step. We're going to be forging this out. So in the next clip here, I'll have my piece heated up, and we'll be at the anvil. Okie doke, ladies and gents. We're here at the anvil, and we are going to lay on a little less than a cube of material, so about 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to use half on, half off blows to set down our original edge. Then we're going to flip the hammer over and use the cross peen to direct the spread of our fishtail here. Once we get that spread to where we kind of like it, almost, remember we got to take those fishtail marks out. We're going to use the flat of the hammer again and clean that out. Now, real quick thing to note. Always keep up against that shoulder. Let me make sure all that was in shot. Yeah, it was. Okay. Always make sure that shoulder is kept tightly against the anvil to produce a clean, even transition point. If you whack it once and it jumps and then you whack it again, you'll create a double set down, and that doesn't look good at all. Usually if I've made that mistake, if I'm not doing further forging in this section, I just throw it off the side of the pile. I won't even use it. So you say, Roy, you're cold working that thing. Yes, I am. This is going to be heated a bunch more times. All I'm doing is improving the surface finish by taking out some of my hammer marks and cleaning up that other side. So that is step one in making this handle. In the next clip, what we will do is we will actually draw down this section or stretch out the handle a little bit, because I don't like it looking just straight like this. I like my handles to have transition, curve in them. So that'll be the next step in the process. But as you can see, the first step doesn't really take that long. I don't know, I've probably made 100 or 200 handles, so repetition's your friend on something like this. Just take your time, bring it out at a very high heat, and then work efficiently with it. Know what you're doing before you pull the metal out of the fire. I don't believe in sitting here and playing with your anvil and just kind of, well, I don't know if I want to, well, let me figure out if I want to maybe, well, I don't know if I want to hit it there. You just wasted energy, you wasted heat. So don't do that. Have a plan before you pull the steel out of the fire. That way you can get the work done and strike while the iron's hot. Okay, metal's up to heat. We're going to start the fishtail in. We're going to start on the radius of the horn of the anvil. And we're just going to back forge this or draw it back into the thick portion of the material. We're just trying to give this kind of a wishbone effect. Come over here and flatten it out. You can use the horn to draw it out this way as well. Give it some extra dimension. Now we're actually going to draw it out a little bit. Alright, that's about as narrow as I want to get that in there. Gonna adjust my stuff up here a little bit. Sorry, I'm out of camera view. Just want to get it straightened up so you guys can see how it developed. So there you go. So you can see that wishboning there. Not much, but it gives it that added something. So now what I'll do is, you can see the taper's a little wonky from one side to the other. That's okay. I'm going to come to the anvil anyhow and dress that up and get them clean and parallel. Get them clean and parallel with each other before I go on to my decorative step. But as you can see, this handle's taking form you know, real quick like, which is a good thing. I use a belt sander to knock off my corners, so I don't do a lot of stuff here as far as cleaning up edges and things like that. If you don't have a belt grinder, it would be a good advice to round this off slightly, so this way it feels more comfortable in the hand. But you can do that with a flat disc on an angle grinder as well. Yeah, so we'll go from there. So I'll come back, I'll have this straightened up, and then we're going to go into the decorative element of this. Stay tuned. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, before I get started, I want to show you real quick what I'm going to do on a cold piece of metal here, just to show you what I got. I've got a hold down tool here on the anvil, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm essentially going to be using a butcher tool to create a section here. Let me grab a marker. What I'm going to be doing is essentially I want to create a form of window, if you will. So I want to be able to create a hard, fast line that separates the middle of the handle from the outside edges, and have, you know, a bit of a flare here maybe. We'll have to see how that works out. But essentially create a chased in window. And then what that window is going to do is we're going to give that window some hammer texturing opposite of what the rest of the piece has, just to give it some contrast. I think it'll turn out pretty cool. I'm using a butcher tool. I explained all about some chasing butcher tools and stuff in that video that I done on chased roping. I'll put a link in the description to that for chased roping. So I won't go over the whole tool today, but that's what I'm using. I'm using a butcher tool. It's got a little bit of old coconut oil on it. But that's essentially what I'm going to be doing to take and create the center section in the chasing. It's one simple tool to take and use. So I've got my piece up to heat. The next shot I will actually go ahead and get in here and start chasing. I shot this portion first just to make sure that everybody understands what I'm doing, just in case I happen to get in the way of the camera, as I have been prone to do in the past. So hope you guys like this here, and we're going to go ahead and do some chasing now. Okie doke. One important part of chasing in hot, you want to move as efficiently as you can. Hold down tool's not one to hold. I'll have to re-temper that. Anyways, that should hold it good enough for right now. When you're working hot, you're working against the clock. That's why I like to do most of my chasing cold if I can. You know, you don't have to, but I like to do most of my chasing cold. Just for that reason, because I don't like being against the clock. So we've done those there. This is the start of our chasing little excursion here. We're not going for real deep. We're just going for just a decorative look here. So that's the start there. As you can see, it's starting to make that a window off. I'm going to go ahead and come in, and I'm going to go ahead and just start connecting my lines here. So I'm going to go one more step. I'm trying to keep about 1/8 of an inch off the outside edge with my tool. That's all I'm really looking for there. And I'm just working that into the other piece. And as you can see, it's getting pretty cold. But this is at a black heat. This is where it's good to lay all this out. So this way, when you bring it out at a nice bright yellow heat or red heat or whatever, that you're coming out, nice bright yellow, I would suggest, almost a welding heat. When you come out with that type of thing, it makes it so much better. So much better to find your grooves, and then you can really rock and roll with it. So sometimes just taking a few minutes of layout work is a huge deal. And I can't believe how bad my little layout tool here is sucking. Oh, I know why. I don't have a scrap piece underneath here. Ah, that's why. Anyways, well, bad on me. So really the only parameter here I'm looking for is to keep my chisel edge off by about an 1/8 inch on the outside edge. Leave about an 1/8 inch of material there for my border. That is my only criteria right now. That's the only thing I'm looking for. Everything else can be what it is, essentially. Let me find a tool here. This will work better. See if this fixes that problematic thing. There we go. Let's see here. That will probably hold it now. Yep, that was the trick. Anyways, so lay this out, guys. I'll probably just come back to you here in a second. Sorry for the loud noise. So, yeah, that's going to get loud. I'll have to turn down the sound. Okay, anyways. So that's essentially what you're going to do. You're going to do that all the way up the handle. So I will go ahead and do that for the rest of the way up the handle, and I'll come back to you guys to show you how that came out. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. So I done got all my decorative chased portion border around it. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well right there. So you can see I put a stop to it at the end to give it just a bit of a point of interest. But that's the chasing all the way up through to the top edge there. So you guys can kind of get an idea of the depth and the feel of that. So now for the next step. The next step is to take and put texture in this piece. I'm going to texture this up. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do a ball peen hammer texture just to give it some dimension there. So I'm going to kind of just beat the crud out of this here in the next clip. You know, I probably won't talk a whole lot. I'll just heat it up and start whacking on it. That way you guys can see that taking place there. And then after this step, we'll punch our hole into this end of the handle because obviously what good is a skillet if you can't hang it up on a pot rack or something like that. So we'll go ahead and punch the hole here. And then one thing to point out is I drill these holes. So I won't show that, it's just drilling. But one thing I do that I'll mention right now is I try to come out an equilateral distance from the edge. So say I'm going to do a 1/4 inch round, a 1/4 inch rivet. I try to picture about where that's going to be, and I try to come in from the edge at least a 1/4 inch all the way around. So a 1/4 inch from here, a 1/4 inch from here, and that's where I place my center punch mark. And same thing on the other side, just to kind of locate my holes. But we'll go over that more when we do the fit and finish part. We're almost to the end of the video here, guys. Thanks for staying with me, and gals. I do have a few ladies that like to watch these demos too. So anyways, so the next step is I will go ahead and you'll see it in the next clip. I'll just kind of texture this, and I'll give you a snapshot of what that looks like. You know, talk after I get it textured, and then I will go ahead and punch the hole, and we'll be done. Alright guys, I got this metal up to heat. I'm going to go ahead and do the punching here. One thing I did without showing this on the video is I went ahead and took, let me check my metal, okay, it's hot enough. I went ahead and marked it out at what I consider a cold heat, or like a very pale red heat. I went ahead and marked where I wanted the hole to be. So this way when I bring it out at much higher heat, I can get the work done. sometimes just taking a little time to get some setup work is huge, just to help you get stuff done. So I'll pull it out here and we'll get to punching. I punch all my holes at a nice bright high heat to do most of the work of the driving of the punch down through the front side of the handle, using the full length of the hammer handle and creating some nice snapping blows. I'm already down to the cool the punch. I'm already down to the surface of the anvil, and you can see the little dot on the back side there. That's what I'm going to aim for. I like to let the piece cool for just a second. Even come back in and maybe work out the hole a little bit, get it cleaned up. Then flip it over when it's at this pale, or what I call a cold heat, and then give it a pop. Because what you're trying to do, guys, with punching holes in material, you see how quick that was. I see guys struggle with this all the time, and when I was a beginner and working at doing punching work and things like that, I struggled a lot with punched holes. It always seemed like I couldn't take and knock out the plug. Something was always creating a problem for me. Even with all the problems that was created, it was just a simple change of tactics. The simple change of tactics is think of it this way. If the metal is red hot or yellow or with welding heat and you try to take and shear out something, it's not going to shear. The plug is just going to bend inside the hole. And the material can stretch and conform to the end of the punch. But once the material gets cold, the material rips or tears away, and that's that shearing motion. So you have got to let the piece cool down sufficiently enough to drive out the slug. This is true no matter what you're doing. If you're working on hammerheads, top tools, things of that nature, you're fighting the trying to get the slug out, let it cool down and then give it a big whack, and it will shear right out nice and clean, just like so. So anyways, that's going to be the end of this video there, fellas and ladies. Hope you liked it. I'll put a finished photo of this thing here at the end after I get it all finished up here, and then, you know, part 2 of the video series once again will be forging the body of the skillet. Hope you join me back here for that. And then part 3 of the video series will actually put all the elements together and season a frying skillet. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate all your support. Those of you that have been supporting the channel, God bless you all. And everybody have a great day and a great week. Thanks for watching.